Got it. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my VS Code.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this week, Hanson and I were tasked with so that when you go to the home page, if you do not currently have a to-do list started, you should see a button that allows you to click it, and then it implements a new list. So in order to do that, we had to download this. Where is it?
Line 14 for you.
Thank you. Oh, because
Yeah.
I'm highlighting it. So we added this dependency, and part of it includes the ability to generate a token. So if the user does have a to-do list currently, they just get, you'll see this down here, they'll just get routed to the page that contains their list. Otherwise, they'll see this button. And so when you click the button, it's going to, so on click, we get past this generate token, and then that adds to their local storage a unique token that creates a list. Anything you want to add, Hanson?
Yeah, did you want to show them the demo of the?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Here, let me actually stop sharing and I'll show you the whole screen then. Okay. So, there we go. Okay. Okay, so now you guys should be able to see Smart Shopping List.
Mm-hmm.
So let's show you what it looks like if you don't have a list started. So I'm going to think this works. I may actually be on the wrong branch. Let's see how this goes. So if you go home, there we go. Okay, so if you go home, so right now we don't have a list started, so that's why we see the button. And then if you click create a new list, then if we were to check our local storage again, you'll see here's our unique token. And so now you can, well, with the other team's task, now we can add items and then they get stored to this list. And that's it.
Great. That was a perfect segue then.
Yeah.
That was like, yeah, good job.
Practiced.
Cool. So there's no suspense. I'll be presenting. Let me share my screen. Cool. Can you see like half and half?
Yep, perfect.
Great. So thank you for Lizzie. And this is what we worked on this week. I feel compared to the first week, I feel this is like from 0 to kind of 50. That's how I felt. And so basically what we're doing is we have a item name here as a text input. And we also have 3 radio buttons here for how soon we will buy this item again. So we're adding, let's try to add something. So cat food for Rose. Rose is Olivia's cat, by the way. So let's add here. Ta-da! We have an item is saved in the database here. And we should be able to see cat food. Okay, 3 times already. Maybe let's try something unique here. Let's see. Let's see. Noodle, maybe. Okay, go back to list. Noodles right here. Okay, let's go to the code base then. So we're declaring for excuse me, we're declaring for so item name, days until next purchase, and its arrow, and is submitted. And the form structure, as I showed, one is a text input. We also make it required. So let's show this really quick. If this has nothing input in there, you would prompt, please fill out this field. And here are the 3 radio buttons. And thanks for Tim giving us the tips, because we put days until next purchase 7 as default right here. So soon is always clicked. And then the second radio button is 14 days, and the third one is 30 days. And once the form is submitted, we use try catch to catch error. So add item is a function we input it from API Firebase right here. Basically, it's a function we add a new item to the database. And let's go back to add item. And then we realize the list token is actually what we need from the other group. Thank you for doing that. And then it's object with item name and days until next purchase to update the database. And then here we're setting is error false, meaning there's no error. And then we always set is submitted true. Why we need this, I'll show you in a little bit. And then once there's an error, then we catch the error and we update is error to true. And then, yep, we update is submitted to true again. And once all this is done, we set item name back to a string and also set days until next purchase back to 7. Okay, here's why we need is submitted. Because at the beginning, we don't want this item, both of them to show on the screen. So if it's submitted is truthy, then we'll go to here. If it's error is truthy, then meaning there's error, then we'll show items not saved in the database. And if error is falsy, then item is saved in the database. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I have a question actually. So when are
Okay.
you setting submitted to false then? Is that ever happening?
Good question.
Would that be in the catch then? That if there's an error with submitting the form, then it's set as submitted should be false then, right?
So basically what we're trying to do if oh, good question. If this is falsy, then it's null. So basically it's falsy is always like at the beginning. But I guess we should set it back to falsy somewhere.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if you could combine the is error and the submitted into just one state, maybe. This is something to consider, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good. No, this is great though. I know this is it's always funny seeing like the difference in how much each pair has to do. It always gets a little uneven. So yeah, great job doing this.
Thank you.
How did you like updating Firebase? Did you find that function? I believe they already pulled that out in the utils, right? Or the Firebase library.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you understood what I was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Originally we're trying to do like, was it push or something? That's a method we find in the doc, but for some reason we couldn't use it for some reason. Yeah. Which is why we ended up using what do we end up using? Doc. One moment. add doc. Yeah.
Cool. Just curious, how long did it take each pair approximately to implement their tickets this week? I know last week everyone said it didn't take very long, so.
I think ours took about a little over an hour, I believe.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Yeah, ours took pretty long. Maybe, well, including, integrating Tim's suggestions, maybe like over 3 hours.
Yeah, I was like a little over an hour, but I probably went back to it and like looked over the code and everything for another
Mhm.
hour probably.
Mhm.
I definitely Googled a whole bunch of things after
Yeah.
we stopped officially meeting. Like, what was he talking about with this? And
Yeah, I'm curious about what is the hook you used? I never used it before, so I was like,
Oh, the used callback hook.
yeah.
If I'm being honest, I was referring to like one of my old projects, how to set up the handler functions and all that, and I just kind of used the use callback, and then Tim caught it. I was like, yeah, I should have. I'll have to fix that. So, but I believe
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
something to do with the rendering, right? Like having to not render with the something like that.
yeah, if you're passing a function to a child component, React checks for referential equality. That's like whether it's going to re-render the child component. And when components re-render, functions will be rebuilt basically.
Mm.
And so yeah, if you want that function to keep existing without being rebuilt, then you want to use the use callback. But it's like one of those things that's like React's actually really good at re-rendering. And so it's like you don't necessarily have to do it when the function's really simple. It kind of just like makes the code more complex. And so that's kind of what I was pointing towards in my code review comment, is just like it's definitely a good tool to know and to understand. But it's probably not necessary in this situation.
So is like, do you have a situation on top of your head of like when that would be necessary using that hook?
Yeah, if your function's like a lot more complex and like rebuilding it will like, it's basically like you're trying to balance the trade-off of how much computation it takes to like create the function, and then the computation it takes to like create a callback, which like, because creating a callback isn't necessarily like a free thing to do. Like you're adding complexity to your code by doing that. And yeah, I think like just the recommendation is like you don't need to start with use callback almost ever. And it like you bring in use callback once you start seeing something like re-rendering when you don't want it to be re-rendering. But you don't necessarily have to like use it right away. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. So that's what you mean by premature optimization. It's like it's not necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like sometimes it's better to just like keep the code simpler, and let React do what React does, which is just re-render things.
Cool. Those are great demos. Okay, great. So this week we are doing something new where we're doing a retro. Have any of you done this before with your boot camps or in another situation?
no.
Well, it's fairly straightforward. We'll just take about 5 or 6 minutes now to enter a couple cards. Interestingly, this is the first time I've used, I think GitHub updated their projects. I had used like a classic project type before. So this one, once it's out of draft, it becomes an issue. So anyway, I guess we'll just, you can click down here, add an item, and then it'll just create a draft like this. But anyway, it's just a time to reflect this is often done at the end of a sprint or every other sprint to try to just make the workflow better in an agile environment. And so it's important, Collab Lab especially likes to point out that we should appreciate what people have done. So appreciations is important, and calling out what went well so that we can continue doing those things. But it's also important to think about what can be improved, even if they're small, just little things that we notice to try to continue to move towards like being a more efficient team, more effective. So let me just post, I'll share the link here. It was in the channel earlier. I know that Olivia already left some comments. Oh, I don't have this. But yeah, so we'll just take 7:20. Let's try to take just about 5 minutes. If you have specific comments for one person or several people and you can call them out, great. Otherwise, you can do kind of general things, especially because we're towards the beginning. So Okay, great. I think we are people still typing? No? Okay, cool. All right. Then I'll just click through these and if it's your ticket, please feel free to go over. I don't have to read it for you. You can read it for yourself, so you can elaborate if you want. Yeah, so we'll just quickly go through these. We'll start with appreciations. Oh, this one was from Olivia. Sounds like Yufa, you and Olivia had a great time this week. You had the meaty ticket. Yep, that's totally true. Oh, and you were in High and Spears the whole time. Nice job. Okay, next Yufa.
Oh, she's not here, but I'll still read it. Had so much fun coding with Olivia this week. I've learned a lot from her, such as React developer tools, her intuition during debugging, and her passion for coding.
Great. This one's mine. You guys are really strong and you all seem to get along really well, which is great because it's just, random people coming together to form a team very quickly. I thought the initial PR review comments, I've just been peeking in a little bit since I haven't reviewed myself yet. But I saw that she mentioned something about destructuring, I should say, of props. And I thought that was a nice thing to call out. And in general, people's positive attitudes here and also in the PRs have been really great. And seeing you all like hit the ground running, it makes your team stand out, I think. Lizzie.
Thanks, Lauren. So I wrote that I appreciate Hansen for being positive and methodical as he was our navigator this week. And working with him led me to over a page of notes and things I needed to look up, which was really helpful. It's like nice to get beyond a beginner's understanding of React and see how different people do it. So thank you, Hansen.
Viviana.
Yeah, just right now, Yufa, I feel like you did a really great job handling the demo on your own since Olivia can't be here. And even right now, when I called something out, I noticed you did a great job taking it in stride. And I know you're going to be thinking about it a little bit more after. So yeah, really great job.
Thanks, Tim and Viviana. Yeah, you guys have been great mentor mates and have always been available to help and step in. And like Viviana, you're always like so willing to do extra stuff and friendly. And Tim, I thought your comments this week were really great since it was the first time that the code was a little more complicated. So I enjoyed reading all of your suggestions too. And Hansen.
Yeah, I just really appreciate Lizzie. She came in with as well a great attitude as well, and then it made the pair programming session really fun. It was a little over an hour, but it felt like 20-30 minutes, and I learned a lot. Just being able to practice conveying and using these technical terms to speak with my partner and like having them trying to guide them to like debugging a certain situation. It's good practice, and I really appreciate that.
Okay, great. On to what went well. Tim?
Yeah, kind of just a general shout out to everybody. I just feel like Lauren said, everyone's just doing really well, and it seems like the pair programming has been really successful. So I'm just happy to see that.
Cool. Just a shout out to my pair programming partners, Lizzie and Olivia, and Hansen. Looking forward to working with you this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lizzie and Hansen joined me in the beginning part of the office hours, and Olivia joined later, and they both had really good questions. They both, I can tell, are really trying to improve off the bat how to even help like the other pairs and reviewing their code and talking about like networking and stuff like that too. So yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah, I've mentored a couple of groups where I feel like the first like 2 weeks have been like radio silent on Slack, until the first retrospective, and then we start talking about it, and everyone starts like, just getting more comfortable. But I feel like, not to say there's not room for improvement, because there always is. But yeah, I think it's been solid so far.
Lizzie.
Yeah, I think submitting the pull requests has gone really smoothly. I love the template. It's so great for reminding us of different things to do, like thinking about tests, adding our screenshots, showing before and after we submitted the pull request. And it's helpful for me because, you know, working on a really detailed level, I'll focus on like just the task at hand. And so then submitting the pull request really helps me see, okay, this is not the Manhattan Project. I'm doing one piece of a much larger project, but I can actually see the other parts. So it just reminds me to look at everything.
Nice. Oh yeah, just reiterating that pair programming has seemed to go really well so far. And the schedule of your release of different things, you've been so far ahead of like what I even expected as or hoped for. You know, I think I've seen some PRs as early as like Monday or Tuesday, which is just that's really helpful for getting things done.
Yeah, similar to what people have been saying. I've loved reading the comments on the code reviews. Everyone's so positive, and I like that everyone's been phrasing it as more of a conversation rather than like nitpicking certain things. And then even getting back to responding to feedback has been really quick. So yeah, great job.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, it's usually the same thing, but I think I've learned the most from the code reviews and reading the feedback and having to like rethink and think about why I implemented the code a certain way. I'm a big fan of code reviews, and that's what I learned this week, basically.
Oh, Olivia says it was challenging finding time to meet to go over PR comments prior to merging. I think next week when we schedule pair programming time, we should also schedule some PR comment implementation time. Yeah, that sounds good. And also, I guess if you can't find a time, it's okay to communicate through Slack and someone, you know, implement something. But obviously, it's nice if you get to do it together.
Yeah, it's obviously like hard because you don't necessarily know like what the PR is going to be like until it happens. But I think feel free to like call in mentors if if you feel like you're running low on time or you've been working too hard on or too long on a problem. Feel free to message us and we can kind of help direct you. Just so because we don't want to make sure you're not going over that time allotment.
And my comment was, you guys are doing amazing. I was trying to think of, something to say. So it might be nice if there's a little more chatter in Slack. For instance, in the threads where you like those threads we pin, you can like share resources. If you're kind of Googling things on your own, that way we can all kind of learn together too. Also, I mean, I don't think we should try to force it to be out of character where you're just, like Tim said, it should be a natural progression as we get more comfortable with each other. But I know I could post some things too because I have some. Sorry, I subscribe to something called TLDR. Do any of you do that? Or it's like a tech newsletter. Oh yeah, it's just kind of interesting. There's like random articles sometimes that are really interesting. So I, for instance, could share some of those. But yeah, something to just keep the momentum going during the week, especially since you finish quite often very early. So great. Okay.
Sweet. Yes, I think we're on to issues this week. Let me get my screen set up here. Cool. Can everyone see my screen? Oh boy. Yeah, so this week we're on to issues 5 and 6. Issues 5 is, as a user, I want to join an existing shopping list so I can share a shopping list with another person. Issue 6 is, as a user, I want to filter my shopping list to make it easier to locate an item in the list. And the groups this week, we're looking at Hanson and Yufa and Olivia and Lizzie. I wondered if anyone, I don't know if anyone had a moment to look at either of these issues. I can obviously just like assign, a group to an issue, but if anyone has any preferences this week, I'm happy to, take those into account. If not, that's cool too. Let's just, we can just go straight across. So yeah, issue 5. Let's give that to Hansen and Yufa. Oop. I'm on my split keyboard and like getting confused. How do you type? Cool. So yeah, issue 5. We want to allow users to join existing shopping lists so they can manage them with friends or family. This would take the following steps. 1, user enters an existing token into a form. The token is saved to local storage, and the user is taken to the list view and shown the existing list. So the AC for this is if a user doesn't already have a token, the home view should show a form that allows the user to enter a token to join an existing list, in addition to the button that allows them to create a new list. The input that accepts the list token has a semantic label element associated with it. The user can submit this form with both the mouse and enter key. If the list exists, the token is saved in local storage, and the user is redirected to the list view and shown the items on that list. They are automatically redirected to the list view if a token exists. If the list does not exist, the user is shown an error message that explains the problem. A few notes for this is be sure to use the set list token function to save the token that the user enters. You will know the label is correctly implemented if you click on the label and a keyboard focus moves to the related input. And then there's a link to the Mozilla docs on the label element here. And then users will be able to submit the form with the enter key if you listen for the right JavaScript event on the right element. If you're adding an on key down listener anywhere, you might be overcomplicating things. You can assume that users will be sharing a token if the list has actual items on it. So let's say I create a new shopping list but never add any items to it and haven't saved that particular token to Firestore. We can assume that's a list that doesn't exist. If you would like, you can save the token to Firestore immediately when creating a list, and then a user would be able to share an empty list. So that's just kind of an option for you going forward. Anyone have any questions about that one, Hansen or Yufa? Pretty straightforward. Cool. All right.
Does that
Let's
kind of
jump.
cut off? In the did I just
Say that again?
Can you open that again at the
Mhm.
bottom?
Yeah,
It says
I don't know what's happening there.
okay.
That seems like something weird. But yeah, we'll have to look into that actually. That's a good call. Good eye. I noticed it and was kind of like, oh, that's weird. But yeah, that's definitely like, it looks like we might be missing some AC. So maybe we'll pop into another repo and see if their issue is complete or not. But yeah, so maybe we'll touch base on that either later today or tomorrow. Cool. Issue 6, going to Olivia and Lizzie. Oops, sorry. IE over Y. Okay, yeah, so summary. Allowing users to search through their list will help them cut down on clutter and focus on items they're looking for. The AC here is a form is added to the top of the list view above the shopping list. That form includes the following elements: a text field with a semantic label, which narrows down the list as the user types. When there's text in the field, some kind of button, like an X, to clear the field. When the field is cleared, the list is reset to its unfiltered state. Some notes on that are, again, you'll know the label is correctly implemented if you click on the label and keyboard focus moves to the related input. The filter text should match any part of the item name. It should not only match from the start of the string. So like, any substrings should count. And then we have a wireframe here, which shows, so we're talking about the filter items portion, just this top part right here. And yeah, Cool. Yeah, any questions about that, Lizzie? It's pretty straightforward.
Nope, looks pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Great. Sweet. I think that's all that then. But yeah, so issue 5, let's we'll touch base on Slack once we've done a little digging and see if there's something missing from that AC. But yeah, otherwise, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, I found it in another repo, and it was just saying to redirect. So
Okay.
I did that the ticket. Yeah, it should be.
Sweet. Cool. Maybe I'll do this real quick. What are we on? 5, 6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh yeah, we could probably move that other one too.
Oh, sorry.
Forget about that project.
Yeah, I got it. And done.
Cool. Well, I think this week, Tim, I think you're doing office hours. Is that right?
Yes.
And
yeah, so Wednesday at 4 should be good. Or 4 PS Pacific time.
cool. Well, we finished early. Do any of you have at work we joke about the meetings where they're like, we'll give you 18 minutes back to your day. You've experienced that as well.
I hate when they say that. I don't like that at all. I'm like, you don't have power over me.
Especially when they say when it's like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh boy, 2 minutes back to your day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a really totally non-tech related question for Lizzie. For visit. So did anyone else have anything to say Collab Lab related? Sweet. Well, I guess yeah, please feel free to, and Lizzie, you can drop and leave me hanging too, but I was just curious if like for the Big Island, we're thinking about visiting Hawaii over winter break. So I was just curious if you have like recommendations of areas.
Yeah, I live in Kona, and flying into Kona International Airport is nice. It's like fairly centrally located. And then people often like to stay up in Waikoloa